Actually, you'll hear more about that later. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to have you here. I'm Steve Wells, the president of DRI, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 27th gathering for the Nevada Medal of Science, honoring people who have made great and outstanding achievements both in science and engineering. I'm delighted to have you all here, and you're able to join us as we honor one of our youngest recipients in history, Dr. Albert Yumin Lin, who's here. I can guarantee you he will rock your socks off tonight, and we've been calling him Indiana Jones 2.0 for a while, so he's a remarkable speaker. Dr. Lin, whose Chinese name, Yumin, roughly translates to citizen of the universe, and I think you'll see why that applies so well. He's a research scientist at UC San Diego's division of California Institute for Telecommunications and Information Technology. As well, he's an emerging explorer for the National Geographic Society in the field of technology-enabled exploration. You've been seeing some of those pictures up here, and we look forward to honoring your accomplishments, Dr. Lin, later on. As we start tonight's celebration, I'd like to say a few words about your environmental research institution, your Nevada Global Research Institution, DRI. In addition to delivering the kind of rapid, high-quality environmental sciences in a business-like fashion that all of you know, DRI has also taken on an important role in supporting our state's focus of innovation-based economic development, and Governor Brian Sandoval's endeavors to integrate higher education into a sustainable business model for the future of Nevada. Through fostering our research talent and leveraging our basic science, we're creating new intellectual property, strengthening commercialization efforts, building industry partnerships, and providing innovation-based services. So DRI is not only helping people around the world, but we're helping people here in the state with our economy, thanks to the leadership of the governor. Before we proceed with our tribute tonight, I'd like everyone to pay attention. We have a video that will summarize some of the highlights from last year and where we're going for this year. The research you see represents only a small fraction of what occurs at DRI, both on our Reno and Las Vegas campuses and our sites around the world. So with your patience, please enjoy this video. Thank you. The Desert Research Institute is part of the Nevada System of Higher Education, and it provides innovation, science, and technology to improve people's lives around the world now and for the future. As we move forward, what we see for the institution is not only basic science, but science that's applied for economic development, science that reaches into new parts of the state plan for the economic development of Nevada. And we're very proud to be part of that. The Center of Excellence, which was created as a 501c6, is an organization that capitalizes on one of our greatest challenges in this state, which is our aridity and challenges in water, but it also capitalizes on the unique intellectual capacity we have at the universities and at DRI. Our knowledge base in water is unparalleled. You blend that with the knowledge of the Southern Nevada Water Authority, and you have something that no other state can compete with. So recognizing that, we put together a group of people to focus on how we can use water management issues, water technology, water policy issues to advance the state, build businesses, attract businesses, and ultimately build a business model with water at the center of this. It's a very exciting step for this state, and we're very proud to be part of that.
This is Lake Tahoe, world-renowned but not as pristine as when Mark Twain visited and described the nearshore as so clear his boat seemed to float on air. We've lost much of that clarity now, and the lake is threatened by algae and sediment and aquatic invasive species. But CWES is working with agency partners and with scientific collaborators in both Nevada and California to develop new methods for tracking and mitigating changes in the lake, in its watershed, and the airshed. This is our backyard, but it's also our testing ground, where we develop the scientific approaches and methods and the information needed to sustain the unique environmental assets of this area and to support viable local communities.
Well, as DRI tries to reduce its carbon footprint on this planet Earth and live up to our long-term plan for how we will sustain this campus, we've moved more to renewable energy for improving our campus operations. We've had 6 projects accomplished over the past couple of years that will result in over 2 megawatts of solar energy to our campuses in Las Vegas and Reno, providing up to $350,000 worth of savings when we're completed. One of the other really cool things that we've done at DRI is install a new electrical vehicle charging station on our Las Vegas campus that is available to the public. This station is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and available to anyone on ChargePoint network. We're very excited about the decision to make the state of Nevada one of the 6 FAA testing sites for unmanned aerial systems.
It is a huge year not only for DRI but for the entire state of Nevada. We received an FAA UAS Test Site Award, which means that we're going to be one of 6 states authorized by the FAA to perform tests on unmanned aircraft systems to help the FAA develop guidelines, or what I like to call the rules of the road, on how to use UAS for DRI for our research interests.
This is a huge step in that it will bring industry to do testing here, but also provide a focus for higher education to build capacity in research as well as education and workforce development in unmanned aerial systems. One of the most important things as we look forward to 2014 is the role that DRI will play in working with the state in economic development. We have a governor and an Office of Economic Development that's reached out to higher education to build an innovation-based economic development model for our state. It's up to us in higher education to fulfill that mission by taking our basic science, turning it into applied science for commercialization, partnerships with industry, and innovating so that we can help not only the citizens here in our state, but also across the nation and around the world for the future. How was that? Pretty amazing what our research faculty do here in Nevada, to the nation, and around the world. So please join me in acknowledging their work. Let's give them a round of applause to all of our faculty. To begin the award program activities tonight, I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Laurie Lieberman, who serves as the chairman of DRI's Foundation Board of Trustees. Laurie has an incredible history and we're privileged to have him here in the state of Nevada. At the age of 26, he became the youngest dean ever of the School of, for admissions for the Stanford School of Business, where he served in that position for 5 years. Following that, he began a 25-year career in finance and technology, holding senior level positions at multinational Fortune 500 corporations such as Apple. The DRI Foundation serves as our institution's friend and fundraising arm, and we're privileged to have Dr. Lieberman, I've given you a degree, Doctor, Laurie Lieberman, in charge of that foundation. So please join me on the stage, Laurie. It's great to have you up here. Thank you.
I've been promoted to be a doctor. That's great. Thank you, Steve, ladies and gentlemen, friends. On behalf of all of us serving on the Foundation trustees, it's my special pleasure to welcome you and thank all of you for making the effort to be here tonight. Your support demonstrates your belief in what DRI does for Nevada, the nation, and the world. And yes, I mean the world. Did you know that DRI does environmental research on every continent on the planet? DRI does cutting-edge climate change research, taking ice core samples from both poles and analyzing them in one of the most sophisticated labs in the world. Thanks to the generous donation of Tom and Mary Gallagher, DRI recently dedicated a terracotta warrior and horse on both of our campuses to honor the work we're doing to preserve one of the world's most important antiquities in China. DRI took the lead on a nearshore study that will be an important road mark to preserving the clarity of our beloved Lake Tahoe. DRI is also doing important research to mitigate against the effects of the invasive quagga mussel at Lake Mead. Needless to say, DRI's impact is both global as well as in our own backyards. I have a great recent development I'd like to brag to you on behalf of DRI. Just last week, a group of researchers led by Dr. Justin Huntington was included in a White House press release launching the President's Climate Data Initiative. Through a unique partnership with Google that Justin has fostered with colleagues in both Idaho and Nebraska, DRI has a tremendous opportunity to assist in the creation of new web-based drought mapping and monitoring products that will help business, communities, and water resource managers in Nevada and around the U.S. to better understand and respond to the impacts of drought. The DRI's mission, the Foundation's mission, is to maximize DRI's global environmental impact by securing necessary funding, promoting DRI to multiple constituencies, and expanding DRI's reach both at home and abroad. The DRI Foundation trustees are an impressive group of 30 men and women volunteers representing business and industry from all walks of life. So thank you again for being here to celebrate DRI's annual Nevada dinner. Tonight's dinner sets a milestone of fundraising success for the Nevada Medal. For the first time, we believe the Nevada Medal will net the DRI Foundation over $200,000 in unrestricted funds. We couldn't have reached the milestone without the support of this year's presenting sponsor, Switch SuperNap, which stepped up with a $50,000 donation. Switch SuperNap exemplifies the type of company our governor endeavors to create in Nevada. High-tech, high-profile, with a highly skilled workforce dedicated to supporting Nevada's knowledge-based economy. I'd like to personally thank Missy Young, who is the Switch SuperNap Executive Vice President of Co-Location and a trustee of the DRI Foundation. As the chairman of Las Vegas's Global Economic Alliance, she's dedicated to helping diversify Nevada's economy and serving the local community through philanthropic efforts. Switch SuperNap is the world's leader in data center ecosystem design, development, and mission-critical operations, providing unrivaled independent solutions for co-location, connectivity, cloud, and collaboration ecosystems. We're also privileged tonight to have with us in Reno CEO and founder Rob Roy, who's committed to paying forward the success of Switch SuperNap and is passionate about enabling a more diverse Nevada economy. He created the Innovation Center, a philanthropic effort to support economic diversification and foster collaboration between Nevada entrepreneurs, business leaders, and the community. His sponsorship of this award is a tremendous symbol of Switch SuperNap's continued efforts to help make Nevada a global leader. There are 6 major sponsors who've each contributed $20,000 or more that I'd like to recognize tonight. Those are Tom and Mary K. Gallagher, Barrick Gold, E.L. Cord, Robert Lewis, the Newmont Mining Corporation, and Van Scoik and Associates. I'd like to thank all of this year's gold and silver sponsors who have also helped DRI reach our ambitious goal of $200,000 after expenses. Importantly also, on behalf of the foundation, we at the foundation are incredibly grateful to the DRI staff, particularly Don Coots, Russ Coast, Greg Bordelin, Justin Brolio, Catherine Schell, and CFO Ellie Oppenheim, as well as Dr. Wells, and especially the foundation trustees Joe Guild and Chuck Cray for their Herculean efforts in making both our Reno and Las Vegas medal dinners such a huge success. Before I conclude, I'd like to take a moment to recognize a longtime DRI supporter who has stepped up to fund DRI's Green Power program, which started 15 years ago through the support of NV Energy. More than $1 million later from NV Energy, Green Power today is involved in 135 schools statewide and expanding. I'm also proud to announce that tonight the DRI has received a second $100,000 donation from the Kaiser Foundation. Thank you, Mike Benjamin, and you know what that's for, which has enabled Green Power to expand its Green Box program. Green Power staff, DRI scientists, and local educators have developed more than 30 green boxes on topics from renewable energy to soil science that will reach more than 10,000 K-12 students throughout the state over the next year. In honor of tonight's event, Sempra Energy has sponsored a geospatial and natural resource green box, which is on display in the entrance. Thank you, Sempra. And by the way, Sempra dedicated this box to Nevada's 150th birthday. Finally, I'd like to ask everyone in the audience to stand and give our major sponsors a round of applause. Thank you for doing this. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to welcome Dr. Wells back to the podium. Steve?
Now, after giving our IT people heart palpitations because I moved the agenda up a little bit, it's time for you to enjoy your dinners, and then we'll come back up here. So enjoy your dinners. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed the wonderful dinner provided by the Pepper Mill. Let's give a round of applause to the Pepper Mill and the food and staff and the great service. I want to start the second part of our program by thanking all of you who've supported DRI over the years, and especially tonight for the Nevada Medal. 27 years of doing this, bringing you phenomenal science and engineering from around the nation and world. I'd like to take a moment to thank a special group of supporters, and that's the trustees of the DRI Foundation. These people work tirelessly to raise money for the Institute, to introduce us to people not only here in Nevada, but across the nation and around the world. So I'd like all the trustees of our foundation to please stand, and for all of us to give a round of applause for these people who dedicate their service to DRI. Now I'd like to recognize some very special people we have here in terms of elected officials and leaders in higher education. And so if you could, I say this, but I know what's going to happen, hold your applause to the end. Let me start off by welcoming our Governor, Brian Sandoval. Governor. Lieutenant Governor Brian Krolicki. Secretary of State Ross Miller. State Treasurer Kate Marshall. State Senator Greg Brower. Assemblyman Pat Hickey. Assemblyman Mike Sprinkle. Assemblyman Ira Hansen. Reno City Councilwoman Naomi Jardin. Is she here? Yeah, there she is. Reno City Councilwoman Hillary Sheevy. And to those people who influenced my life significantly, Regent Cedric Creer. Regent Jason Geddes. Regent Ron Kinect, Regent and Vice Chair Rick Trachok. Special to have the University of Nevada Reno President Mark Johnson. I've not seen him, but hopefully he's here. Great to have you here. Great colleague. Sierra Nevada College President Len Gillette, our only major private institution. Len, it's great to have you. We thank all of you for your support and for being here tonight. I'd also like to thank members of our congressional delegation who provided proclamations or letters of commendation. And based on that, I should probably also thank, representing Senator Reid, Lucas Ingvestad. Is he here? Lucas, please stand up because I think I missed you. Thank you very much, and to the Senator. So our delegation is very meaningful to us because much of our research funding comes from our federal government, federal agencies, and we really appreciate the support we get from Washington, D.C. It's critical. So I'd like to personally thank our Senators, Harry Reid and Dean Heller, for all they do for us. In addition, I'd like to thank our representatives in Congress, Mark Amadei, Dina Titus, Stephen Hansford, and Joe Heck. Thank you all for what you do. And I also want to give my personal thanks to Rob Roy and Missy Young. To have a local industry such as SwitchNap do this for us, Super Duper Nap, is just phenomenal. And I tell you, it's great to have you here. Thank you very much. Thank you for being our presenting sponsor. Before I introduce our Governor, Brian Sandoval, I'd like to remind everyone that the special role that governors have played in the Nevada Medal process since 1988. Bob and Sandy Miller have been active supporters and kicked off that kind of support since their days in the governor's mansion. In fact, Sandy Miller will accompany our medalist this year to the elementary school named after her in Las Vegas. The late Kenny Gwynn was always very kind to us in our budgets and his recommendations, and we deeply appreciate Kenny and Dima for all they did in setting up a scholarship and helping us. Thanks to them, we deeply miss him. The same can be said for Governor Jim Gibbons, who played a key role when he was congressman helping us in Washington, D.C., First Lady Dawn Gibbons for the wonderful hostess she provided at the governor's mansion. So our Governor, Brian Sandoval, has continued this wonderful tradition, but he's raised the bar to a new level. This is the third year in a row that he's given 3 straight nights to DRI. That is unbelievable. So, Governor, thank you for that kind of support. This year, DRI is honored that the Nevada Medal celebration as an official Nevada 150 event as part of Nevada's sesquicentennial celebration commemorating Nevada's battle-born Civil War entrance into the Union. So we're very proud to be part of that. Thank you very much, Governor, for making us part of that. All of us here in the Nevada system of higher education, I think I can speak on behalf of my colleagues, are very proud to be part of Governor Sandoval's economic development platform. I personally traveled with the governor on 3 trade missions to China, to Israel, to Mexico, and I've seen the difference that his personal touch makes on reaching out to businesses and agencies across the world. We have people now coming to our great state very seriously looking at partnering with us because of his leadership. We've had most recently Menachem Hiss, the Minister of Agriculture and Science Affairs from the Israeli Embassy, coming here to talk to us about agricultural activities. They went to the University of Nevada, Reno as part of that, and that was a follow-up on the trade mission we took to Israel. We welcomed several visitors from around the world to our Las Vegas campus as an outcome of the work that the governor's done with the Governor's Office of Economic Development. So we're very, very pleased to be part of that process and the movement that he's given to our state's economy. So with that, and without further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Governor Brian Sandoval, the Governor of the great state of Nevada.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Steve, thank you very much for the kind introduction. And what a spectacular evening. And it's my privilege to be here because DRI is an amazing institution that we are very, very blessed to have in the state of Nevada. And it is a privilege to follow Governors Miller, Gwynn, and Gibbons in supporting DRI and helping our new partners at Switch, SuperNap to present the 2014 Nevada Medal. Now, I really mean it. I cannot wait to hear Dr. Lynn speak. And I had an opportunity to meet him prior to dinner. And again, just we're really, really privileged and honored to have you in the great state of Nevada. Told him he's got to move here. Yeah. Now, Dr. Lin really symbolizes the spirit of our presenting sponsor this year, Switch SuperNap, which has worked passionately and creatively to bring some of the world's forward-thinking companies to our state. And I really want to say something about Rob Roy, the leader of Switch. I really do believe that you are one of the greatest minds that Nevada has ever known. So thank you very much for your support, Rob. Thank you. You know, but what I thought about the most is when Rob met Dr. Lin and what that collision of great minds happened, and to happen right here in Nevada. Now, Steve mentioned in 2012 that we launched a plan for excellence in economic development in Nevada. That plan, now in its second year of implementation, is dedicated to our students, the next great generation of scientists, engineers, and urban planners. Now, through a strong educational system that arms students with skill sets that will translate to jobs we yet have not imagined, through careful review and modernization of our legal and regulatory systems, through global engagement, we must ensure that Nevadans can continue to answer the call of opportunity whenever it is heard. Now, I've said that economic development is a journey, not a destination. And on the horizon, we can see the desired aim, a vibrant, innovative, statewide economy based on the pillars of opportunity, innovation, hard work, and collaboration. And by the end of 2014, our state will be traveling on the new path conceived in 2012, thanks in large part to all of you in this room. And as I look through the room, we have our universities, we have our community leaders, we have our business people. It really brings back to the essence of what I call the Nevada family that comes together to do what is best for Nevada. So tonight, of course, is not the end of this conversation about Nevada's new opportunity economy. Rather, it's just the beginning. And before I turn the microphone back to Dr. Wells, I want to thank all of you for your generous support of DRI. On behalf of the people of the state of Nevada, congratulate Dr. Lin for being honored as the 2014 Nevada Medalist. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you very much, Governor, for taking the time, and we really always appreciate it when you're here. So now we're going to move on to the presentation of the 2014 Nevada Medal. Some of you may or may not know, but this is the highest award the state of Nevada gives as a state to anyone in science and engineering, and I think it's pretty remarkable that our state recognizes that at this level. Yeah, an applause for that, and applause for the educational initiative. Thank you, Governor. The Nevada Medal Award represents what we at DRI and higher education hold as standards of excellence. Highly publicized, innovative, award-winning research that has led to monumental changes the way we think, the way we live, and how we view science. The Nevada Medal is given to someone whose scientific or engineering contributions and achievements have profoundly advanced the profession, influenced the way we think about our planet, or served humankind. There are two elements that are a foundation for significant achievement in science, and that's creative observations and technology-enabled discoveries. This year, DRI is honored to present the Nevada Medal to Dr. Albert Lin for his outstanding achievements in technology-enabled exploration and a lot more. Dr. Lin is the youngest research scientist. I know he gets tired of hearing that, but he really is, and there's a lot of good things that come with being young. And the first material scientist and engineer to receive the DRI Medal. As a creator and principal investigator of the Valley of the Khans project, Dr. Lin led an international modern archaeological survey utilizing technologies ranging from aerial and satellite imaging, human computation, non-invasive ground-penetrating radar, 3D data visualization to search for the tomb of Genghis Khan, a quest that have eluded scientists and historians for centuries. His pioneering work to create new methods for massive data analysis through human computation, often referred to as crowdsourcing, which is an emerging field of computer science in which problems are approached by enabling large groups of people to come together as a collective initiative in an innovative online platform, such as Google Earth, has also earned him the 2001 U.S. GIS Academic Achievement Award, as well as being featured in a one-hour National Geographic documentary film, The Forbidden Tomb of Genghis Khan, which he hosted. Dr. Lin has been a driving force in the multiple technology-driven expeditions deep into the most remote parts of the world. And remember, I did say Indiana Jones 2.0. And his research teams have developed innovative platforms using satellite, aerial, and subsurface remote sensing and exploration, most recently in Guatemala, where he and his colleagues were using these kinds of instruments and unmanned aerial aircraft to survey caves and cliffs that have been theorized to hold the ruins that are important to ancient Mayan people. He's also founded new businesses, and we're trying to get him to help maybe bring some of those businesses to Nevada, and some of those businesses actually were utilized, I hope you don't mind, Dr. Lin, in the exploration for Flight 370 that went down. So there is a connection there. It's pretty remarkable. The programs that he's developed include the National Geographic Engineers for Exploration Program, the Exploration Lab, and the Distributed Health Labs. He's been invited to present work on a massive scale collaboration and crowd-based collective intelligence at TED events and to organize meetings and discussions with the U.S. Geospatial Intelligence Agency, Harvard Business School, and the U.S. Department of Defense at the Pentagon. Dr. Lin holds his PhD in material sciences and engineering and is a pioneer in the new wave of digital exploration and science education through public engagement. His work has motivated participation from hundreds of thousands of people in real time, on the ground, working on scientific discoveries in ways that we could never have imagined. He continues to advocate for science education through public engagement and did a remarkable today with students visiting DRI, and will continue to do that in Las Vegas. He works with organizations such as the National Geographic Speakers Bureau, the U.S. State Department, as well as programs as Google Science Fair and Science Fest Africa to expand the scope of curiosity-wide information in science. So with that introduction, Governor Sandoval, if you could escort Dr. Lin to the stage, it's a great honor to award him the 2014 Medal for Outstanding Scientific Discovery. Please.
Thank you very much. Yes. Wow. This is incredible. Thank you. Thank you.
And this is the honorarium from Switch Knapp, so.
Wow.
Yep.
Thank you. You know, this is so heavy. This has got to be, I'm going to use this at the tables later probably, right? No, I'm just kidding. No, what a huge honor. Thank you.
And Governor, before I turn it over to you, I just want to say this is something that Dr. Lin has received that we don't have. This is his own personal puzzle. We don't have one of ourselves, do we? No. That Sierra Journeys did for him. We're going to be selling these things, okay? If you're interested in these things, see us later on. But
Wow.
Dr. Lin, the floor is yours.
Really, what an amazing, incredible honor. You know, this has been a experience of a lifetime. First off, I think the real heroes here are the kids that I met this morning. You know, from Kate Smith, I think you guys in the background over there, future innovators. Where are my friends from Yerington? I think they're over there, is that right? Oh, over there, yeah. Where's Worcester? Worcester, okay. These are the people that make me want to go to work every day. Actually, I never felt like I worked a day in my life, but if I did, they're the ones. It's also been a huge, you know, realization that I have friends in this room that I didn't even realize were going to be here. I met my freshman year roommate in the halls of the cocktail session over there. There's Steve over there. I won't tell everybody about the time he took me to Mexico, to Tijuana, my first week, on campus. Almost steered me into the other course here, but, and I've got other friends here, including, where's Zeb? Zeb Hogan. He's somewhere in the room here. He's another one of the fellow, oh, there's Zeb over there, another National Geographic explorer, incredible guy. But for me, the moment that we arrive on here is just one small piece of a legacy of exploration. I'm a National Geographic explorer where science, exploration, curiosity, it's really about understanding our human limits, about understanding what's out there, right? Curiosity is a human tradition, and we innovate to fulfill that tradition. This right there rings really deeply in my mind. I was telling some of the students that one nugget of information that I learned early on was that the National Geographic Society was founded by a lot of people in a room, but one of those key people was Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of a telephone. I was telling him I've been in that office, in the headquarters, sat at his desk, picked up the telephone, and it didn't work. But it was a try anyway. What an incredible legacy, right? For me, it wasn't always like that, right? I started out like everybody else. Can anybody guess who in that picture is me? Definitely that kid right there. These are my grandparents, and they taught me about the importance of studying. They told me about my own ancestry. They said, my grandfather always said, I think your people come from the north. And that would stick in my head for a long time. They told me to study hard, to ask questions, but to be passionate. And I did. I studied hard. I went to school. I studied science. I ended up with a PhD because I didn't want to go out and get a real job, right? And while I'm supposed to look wise and knowledgeable there, I obviously am pretty confused, right? That really sums it up there. You graduate and you're just like, okay, what now, right? So I sold everything I had and I moved into my car and I said, okay, well, I'm going to give myself a year to figure out what I really care about. The next thing you knew, I was on a train to Ulaanbaatar because that story that my grandfather had told me about my ancestry coming from the north, I wanted to know what that was about. My idea was that I was going to buy this, I had my first handheld GPS, and I was going to go out to the outskirts of town in Ulaanbaatar, and I was going to buy a horse and ride out to the nomads, and when I had to come home, I'd press home on my GPS, and I'd sell my horse at the entrance of the capital and break even. And that was my plan, right? But I met these people on the train that said, Albert, you are going to die. And I said, okay, well, it's okay, we all die, but will you help me? And they said, well, you don't know how to ride a horse. Why am I speaking in this accent, right? But, it was more of a Russian accent, I guess. It was this story of the horses. And they said, okay, well, we'll give you a chance, and we'll take you out to the countryside. And they gave me a horse, right? That's me on the left. And they taught me how to ride on these wooden saddles. I told you guys over at Kate Smith that those wooden saddles are brutal. All these kids at Kate Smith, they all rode horses. I said, who rides a horse here? Every single one of them rose their hand, which is, I think that's I love that about the state of Nevada. But, these wooden saddles are pretty brutal. But they taught me about, their way of life, their people, who they were, who I was, where I came from. This is Mongolia, and I told others earlier that the world's fastest sheep are roaming across the plains, grazing at an incredible pace. But it's wide open landscape, a place where the way of life is nearly 50% nomadic. It's a high desert, just like here, right? People live off the land, as they have over thousands of years. And, at the core of their existence is this understanding of their past around a person named Genghis Khan. Okay, I learned about Genghis Khan, and growing up in the West, I learned about Genghis Khan from Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventures, right? That was pretty much it. That was the extent of my education, about Genghis Khan until I showed up in Mongolia, where I found out that there was this history of this person who really transformed the world. I mean, we're talking about a person who went from absolutely nothing to create the largest contiguous empire in human history, in land mass and population. I mean, you look at Alexander the Great, you look at Napoleon, you look at the Romans, nothing compared to this guy, right? And it wasn't that long ago, 800 years ago. And his army wasn't ever that big. I mean, he only had about 100,000 people at his maximum size. And, I mean, he was facing million-man armies at the time. It's unbelievable to think about what this individual did. He started out with nothing. He was outcasted to die by his enemies. He was oppressed by his, by the people from the south. At the time, the Shisha, which are now, modern-day Chinese, were oppressing these people of the north. And, he went from nothing to everything and transformed the world that we live in today. But we almost know nothing about this guy, right? The spread between the history books from Mongolia and the history books from Bill and Ted's are so, it's so different, so divergent. And why is that? Because all of this history is shrouded in mystery. Beyond just a good story, this is absolutely true. There's never been a document written by his own people. There's never been a painting of him that was from the time while he was alive. There was never one of the tombs of he or any one of the imperial family members ever found. And all of that mystery lies somewhere in northern Mongolia in a place called the Ikkurik, or the Yigikurik, or the Forbidden Precinct, which Genghis Khan himself named forbidden. He said anybody outside of the royal imperial family was not allowed to enter that region by punishment of death, because that's where he had survived in order to go from nothing to everything. That's where he went to these mountains to pay tribute to what he believed was his god, which was the heaven skies, Tengri, right? In order to change the path of human history. Okay, but it's all in this one place that's been forbidden to go to by outsiders for 800 years. The only people that are allowed to go there are the shamans that pay tribute to this mountain, this mysterious mountain in the center of this precinct, the president of Mongolia, the prime minister of Mongolia, and the locals who can pay tribute to this region once every 4 years. My plan was to take satellites, drones, ground-penetrating radar to look with new eyes, and I started convincing people. I said, okay, well, I can do this. If we look with new eyes, we're going to respect the traditions that have barred us from going in there before. We're not going to dig up this tomb. We're going to look with new methodologies, using science as the driver. And I started building toys. I started coming up with tools. Now you can get a drone for a couple $100, but about 5 years ago, it cost me $10,000 to build this thing. And that's a lot of money for a guy who's living in his car. Right? This is the first flight. You can see I'm incredibly excited. This is the campus of UC San Diego. And it goes up. I've got a camera on there. I'm going to use it to look down and see if I can see any anomalies on the ground. But you can see the moment in which I realized that 8 spinning blades are about to descend, and I didn't really think through how I was going to make it land. That moment right there. Yep. I was terrified. Oh, God. Yeah, that was a rough one. It didn't take me out. And then, I started collecting satellite imagery. I was actually able to put this, to put this stake in the ground. We're going to do this. And people started rallying around this idea, and they started supporting it. And one day I get a call from well, at the time it was the GOI Foundation, and they said, well, look, we've got the highest resolution Earth satellites in the world. Tell us where to point them. Okay, I'm living in a car still at this point, and I'm positioning satellites over planet Earth. And this is what it started looking like. I got the data, and I started looking at it, and it's like, well, there's just too much. What do I actually see here, right? Does anybody here see anything that looks like a tomb? If I said, where would you see a tomb in this little... Right? You see some modern features. You see some roads. You see something weird. It's not that hard, right? It's not that hard to see it. And if I created a game where you could go and tag pieces of imagery and tell me what you saw, and on the back end, I could use your parallel agreement to define where consensus was driving insight. Maybe I could start to use this to go through all my data. right? I created this platform and I actually launched it, and within a few months we started collecting huge amounts of data, and when it started falling onto the map, all those little sub-pieces, they started adding up to insight. You start looking closer and you can see where all those little dots, independent dots created by thousands and thousands of people just volunteering their time, led to insight, where roads were, where rivers were. The roads are in red, the rivers are in blue, and these little weird yellow anomalies where there's something there. What is that, right? Altogether, with the time on site, I was able to garner 18.1 years of human effort for free, looking at pixels, telling me where they saw things that were weird. When I had all that time and all that effort and all that support, I said, okay, well, it's time to go. And I was able to get my first grant from the National Geographic Society and head out into the field. I was incredibly excited. I had an incredibly small budget. I'm loading up my team. I had met this really great colleague, Professor Ishtoch, from the Mongolian Academy of Science. He had this great accent. He said, yes, but it'll be okay. But it wasn't. Obviously our car started breaking. And he said, but it's okay. And I said, Professor Ishtoch, trying to be as respectful as possible, do you think you picked the right trucks for us? He goes, but in Mongolia, it's not the truck that matters. It's the mechanic, And we had a great mechanic. I mean, he was really good. But mechanics aside, there's really nothing you can do when you actually hit the elements, right? You think that's bad? Look at the inside of the windshield wiper when that's occurring. I know we already finished dinner, so that's why I showed this now. Yeah. At that point, I turned to Professor Ishtoch. I said, are we stuck? And he goes, yes, we are really stuck. He had a calm demeanor about himself, about everything, because he knew ultimately that, his old traditions. He's a professor of history, and he has 100 horses. And he brought his horses, and he said, okay, trucks will only make it so far. Let me show you a quick video of what it feels like to be in the field. The worst rainstorm in 40 years. We're coming up in a Russian minibus. It's a pretty versatile vehicle.
We're taking a lot of water on right now. We're taking water over. It's kind of smoky in here.
You're about to see me take a little swim here. That's what science is about, in the name of science, I was sitting on top of all these tools, like ground-penetrating radars and advanced aerial drones, and all I'm thinking to myself is, are the goats going to make it? I mean, it was pretty bad. But eventually I made my way up to the gates of the Forbidden Precinct, the Ikonik, right? With special permission from the President of Mongolia. I was about to enter a land that was speculated about from the likes of Marco Polo. He wrote about this place. Rashid al-Din, who is the great chronicler of the 17th century, right? These people wrote about this place, not being able to access it. And 800 years later, I'm sitting here today with a bunch of tools and science and methodologies and hypotheses that allowed me to break this barrier, right? To say, we can look with new eyes, and I get through this gate, a symbolic moment. Well, every night we set up our camp, using the same methodologies and the same tools that the Mongolians have used for thousands of years. These are the yurts, or gers. They go up in about a couple hours. They're made with felt and sticks, and you can see the storms rolling in every single night that literally threaten our lives. Thunder, lightning, flash floods, not to mention all those flies and mosquitoes, right? But seriously, did you see that lightning? I mean, imagine having, a cesium magnetometer on your back, which is basically a large lightning pole, That's why we have grad students. Let me take you into the Ger, right? What it actually means, right? We're sitting around the campfire every single night. Let me play you, actually, you know what? Let me take you to the song that we would sing around the campfire with these Mongolians. They would teach us these songs of their own past, right? An oral tradition where stories of their past, their people are passed down by words, by lyrics. Deep, philosophical, emotional. And they asked us to sing our songs, and all I could come up with was Thriller, which didn't really play off that well, but we taught them how to do the moonwalk and everything else, and it all worked. And every single day we'd wake up and we'd start hiking through these mountains. See, my team was comprised of the buddies of mine that I had gone mountain climbing with throughout the years, and we'd start to survey this vast, large countryside using what the crowd had directed us to. We looked at over 55 different sites. We looked at over 100 different sites that the crowd had directed us to, and over 55 of them were Bronze Age to Mongol period tombs. It actually worked. It actually really worked. People were telling us to go in the right place. But one place in particular showed this one mountaintop. And it was in the center of the Forbidden Precinct. And the locals believed that it was the mountain known as the Burkhan Khaldun. The shamans still pay tribute to this mountain. The Ministry of Culture, the president, they all go to this mountain. It's in the center of the Yigi-Korik. The Burkhan Khaldun, known as the God Mountain, is believed to be the mountain where Genghis Khan would connect with the spirits and where he had said he would want to be buried, on the southeast flank, on the sunny flank of this mountain. We surveyed this entire region to find this mountain via this marker. And as we descended off the southeast flank of this mountain because of storms, we drove down this ridgeline as the lightning pursued us. We started noticing that, while we're retreating into the forest, these trees are falling down around us. You've got a really light topsoil, and these trees fall down. And in the roots of these trees, I would make a discovery that would transform my life. I'd find on this one plateau on the southeast flank of this mountain what appeared to be a lion's face staring at me, a ceramic piece of clay that was heated and dried and had the fingerprints of the person who had made it on the backside of this. You can see the brick behind me. There's pieces there, right? And as I walked around this plateau, pondering what this thing might be, I could hear the tiles crunching under my feet. I could hear the roof right under my feet. And when I opened up the grass just to look, just to see what was under the grass, you could see that we were standing on what was most likely this large temple, right? Right underneath our feet, in the middle of the Forbidden Precinct, on the southeast flank of this one mountain where Genghis Khan had said he wanted to be buried, where the Mongolian president still pays worship to Genghis Khan himself, we discovered this thing. In and around it, we started finding arrowheads, horse bones. We used radiocarbon dating with the Oxford lab and found that these horse bones come back to right around the time of Genghis Khan's death. What is this? That's about as far as we can go from an archaeological dig. And here's Dr. Fred Hebert, National Geographic Archaeology Fellow and one of my co-PIs, kicking over his little golf divots, looking completely dejected. Right? This is as far as he can go in terms of archaeology. We started bringing out new technology. We started playing with, our drones, seeing if we create 3D maps from structure from motion photography of the surface to look for things that we couldn't see from the ground. We started using tools like magnetometers, like ground-penetrating radars, like electroresistivity tomography. I mean, I've got a whole slew of these acronyms to throw at you guys, but tools that would look into the ground without digging up any holes, right? That could use radars that would shoot signals into the ground like a sonar and see what was actually being reflected. And when we looked at what was actually there, we started putting these things into 3D virtual reality and we started noticing that, they line up with where we're finding all these artifacts on the surface, and they line up in a structure that looks like a foundation, about the size of this platform, maybe about from here forward. And in the center of this platform, beneath that foundation, is a large central anomaly. What is this? I can only hypothesize. But I'll tell you this, the Ministry of Culture is currently a month away from passing a law on Genghis Khan historical research that will allow me to publish this, that they had to enact legislation based on our findings. And hopefully, this information leads to new insight that will serve the purpose of giving an identity to a people that have been, for so long, robbed of an identity. Genghis Khan has been something that they've looked at as their personal hero, but at the same time, that story has never truly been written. I'll tell you, the biggest takeaway here was how we looked at this, right? From my mind, at this point, I was thinking, wow, tools, methodology, science, how can I get large amounts of people to help me solve problems? At this point, I gathered my friends that had taken me all the way to Mongolia. This was really a team effort, right? So let's start a company. Started around my kitchen table called TomNod. We used that company to search for, to map disaster regions, to look at where people's lives had been affected by things ranging from tornadoes to, this was actually a really sad case of two of our very close friends went missing in the mountains of Peru, and we were able to get our friends together and actually position satellites over this mountain and find their bodies based on the tracks that we could see in the snow. Most recently, as of last week, I know it's been very publicized, but we had over 4 million people help us look through 400 million satellite images covering 200,000 square kilometers of data at 0.5 meter resolution. The company was acquired by Colorado-based Digital Globe, and I'm on their board of directors of their foundation, but this was something where I realized, there's a huge amount of effort in order to drive people to this, right? It was great. We got people to help. But you see these spikes here in this one case of our first project where it takes a huge amount of effort to get a cover of the Washington Post or the Newsweek or anything like this. But that's what you need to drive citizen science. And that's when I was really honored to become part of a team of co-founders of a new enterprise. With Tim Kelly, the former president of National Geographic, he started the entire program, everything past the magazine. Vijay Lakshman, who's responsible for all your kids' distractions, who basically, created games ranging from Animal Jam to Lord of the Rings Online to Elder Scrolls. John Gamma, who's an ed tech specialist. I just wanted to show you a quick video of our vision, of the new way in which science can be driven in a citizen science platform. High fidelity, right? Why is science looked at differently than movies? People should be emotionally drawn to the challenges that we face. Kids today need to have the fight brought to them. We go where they are, where their attention is. And we use new methodologies to try to answer new questions, to have students feel ownership in data, to feel ownership in science, to play around and experiment, to try new things, to forecast the future, to see what's actually happening, and to try to come up with ideas and innovations and a positive outlook on what we can do to make this world a more sustainable and better place. Well, ultimately, what we're saying is that science should have rock stars. It should be in the games. It should be in the movies. You got to bring the fight to where the battle is actually happening. And so that's what we're doing now. ultimately, I look back at all these years, and I know that my time is almost done here with you, and I really appreciate the attention that you've given me for these few minutes and the honor that I'm receiving. But I wanted to take you back to one last story of my last expedition to Mongolia, where these 7 shamans showed up on the side of this mountain unexpectedly on the sacred Burkhan Khaldun in the center of the Forbidden Precinct, and they found me and a bunch of other people, standing there. And Professor Ishtorsh comes up to me and says, Albert, the head shaman wants to know the leader of our group. I say, uh-oh. It's like one of those moments, like, check please, right? He wants to see you at sundown. And he will see your soul. Right? He teaches me these words, right? Actually, I have a little video of the moments before. It's not very well shot, but you can see the tension in my eyes. This is the shaman in the background.
Oh, wow. I can't say I'm not nervous.
Okay, I am freaking out, right? The shamans, in Mongolia, they judge one's soul first by their smell. And we've just been in the field for a month, and we smelled like, not so good. And we had mosquito spray. I was worried that they're going to be like, who is this alien, right? But more than anything, I just didn't know what I was going to say, right? I couldn't videotape them, and I couldn't take any photos of them, but I could write in my log what I saw that night. And that night, after they dismissed me, I recorded the sounds of their drums. I just wanted to give you this one last piece so you can hear what I heard that night. Let's really bring the sound up here. This shaman, this head shaman, stood over me as I knelt on the ground, underneath him. And he stood over me, beating his drum over my head, singing this chant. In the midnight sky, the dew sort of creeping up against my feet. They brought me into their yurt later and showed me where they had paid tribute to each one of the spirits that guided them. That night he sat over me and just pounded the drum over my head as he moved himself into a trance. And all I could do was sit there with my head knelt down, terrified, wondering what I was going to say to this person who was here to judge my soul at my day of reckoning on the Forbidden Precinct, on the mountain itself. His drum came to a climax. As it got faster and faster, I could smell sweat. And then he just crashed. And he fell to the ground. And he stood over me with one knee. And he would say these things, in ancient Mongolian. He took on this vibe, this totally non-human vibe. It was like, as he drank from this bowl of vodka and smoked this very strange pipe. And he started talking to me about who I was. I had all these plans to tell him about my tools, my technology, all the innovation I was bringing to this mountain. None of it mattered. In the end, the only thing that mattered to him was my intentions. That was it. My point is basically that we innovate to fulfill our curiosity, but we have to know why. And I think what we're doing here at DRI represents the very best of our intentions to understand what and why we need science. Thank you very much.